Please be seated. Please can I ask you to switch off any mobile phones to silent or switched off completely. Thank you. Item 1 of the agenda, I've received apologies from Councillors Craven, Evans, King, Grogan, Holmes and Simon. Are there any other apologies? Councillor Joy.
Jeffrey.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Fletcher and potential lateness for Councillor Thompson.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Craven and Councillor White.
And Mr. Mayor, Councillor Hart is running late. I am expecting.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Now, item 2, there's if there are any declarations of interest, could members complete the green form that is being circulated around the meeting? Move on to item 3, which is to confirm the accuracy of the minutes of the meeting held on the 26th of March 2026. Could I have a proposer and seconder for the minutes? Thank you. Is everyone happy with the minutes? Councillor, did you? Oh, you're happy. Yeah, right. Thank you. Now, can I ask members to please note the attendance matrix from the last meeting? Item 5. I have a few notices from myself. This is my last full council meeting as Mayor. I hope I have chaired all the meetings in a fair and unbalanced manner, and I would like to thank you for all your patience and for your overall good behaviour. Being the emphasis. Last week I attended the Royal Garden Party at Buckingham Palace to gather with Councillor Joy, which was a great experience for both of us. I hope, Councillor Kerr, we didn't see you among the 8,000, but I hope you enjoyed your trip. And finally, can I just remind everyone, the AGM will take place next Thursday, which will be followed by the Mayor's investiture ceremony on the Thursday, the 28th of May. Do we have any announcements from the leader?
Was that Mr. Clark? I'll give way for Councillor Clark. What? What did he say? Unruly behaviour, Councillor Kerr. Well, because she's just called me the naughty kid when he's clearly the one, him with his own nose, and him shouting out resign. Right, sorry, Mr. Mayor. Can I just start by thanking you for the last year of your service? You've done very well. You've chaired the meeting very well, despite the opposition's unruly behaviour. You've been exceptional. I'd just like to say we've had the fantastic news that Kirkleatham Museum is to be transformed thanks to a grant. The efforts of the staff in applying for the grant have been rewarded, and the money will be spent on redeveloping the gallery spaces to make them modern and accessible. I would also like to pay tribute to the ongoing work in Grangetown to ensure residents feel safe in their homes. The serious criminal activity last year, which resulted in the launch of Operation Galvanise, has been well documented, and it was clear that it could not be allowed to continue. What has happened since is an example of how different organisations can work together to support and reassure the law-abiding majority who call Grangetown their home. We have worked with our stakeholders, including the police, fire service and beyond housing, in an ongoing effort to achieve this. An example was a man who was issued with 2 fixed penalty notices of £1,000 each for fly tipping and fire setting on a grassed area. We're getting close to the dates of our biggest festivals. The Kite Festival on Redcar Beach attracted more than 30,000 people last year, and this year's event has been expanded to provide more entertainment for residents and visitors. Last year was a huge success, and we look forward to showcasing our fantastic coastline once again. The Kite Festival follows the East Cleveland Classic Cycle Race, which attracted international standard riders to our borough. And of course, to mention the Festival of Thrift that again returned to the borough this year. Major regeneration schemes continue across the borough, and it's good to see a great deal of planning starting to come to fruition in Gisborough and Eston. Each of these schemes will improve our towns and provide a better quality of life for all our residents. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Are there any announcements from Cabinet members? No, I'm not aware of any, so good, thank you. Are there any announcements from the Chief Executive?
No announcements, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. We move on to item 7, consider questions from the public. We have, I think, one questioner, Mr. Johnson. Does he come forward?
Yes, here.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Yeah, if you would like to ask your question.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me all right, everybody? That makes a change. My question is, in light of the scientific, environmental and health top experts, one of which was Professor Stephen Holgate, CBE, the Royal College of Physicians Special Advisor on Air Quality, who believes air pollution is silently damaging the nation's health and is a public health emergency. They all appeared before a select committee this week on Wednesday, 22nd of April it was, in order to enlighten MPs on the effects of air pollution on people's health and the environment. What plans have councillors got to obtain the results of this select committee? I'm just going off a bit now. I have arranged with Sue Fenwick to send a copy of the Royal College of Physicians report that was done November 25 called A Breath of Fresh Air. And I'm going to put it into democratic services for any councillor that wants to access that report. It's over 100 pages, mind, to contact democratic services. The Royal College of Physicians, I've just done that. So, trust the people we entrust. I trust the people who we entrusted to sign the TVERF contract were aware of this report and reminded Viridor of their obligations in order to keep the citizens of Redcar and Cleveland safe from the many medical hazards the Royal College of Physicians highlight. Although they highlight many conditions, there's about 700 altogether that pollution, they reckon, affects human health. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. And can I just start off with commending the resident for his commitment to something he feels strongly about. Mr. Johnson's been ever present in emailing myself, rightfully asking questions through social media, through elected members. So can I just commend him on his steadfastness in something he believes strongly in. As you're aware, I'm not the overall decision maker in the council. You've addressed the question to me, but I'll answer on behalf of the project board. We would expect the results of the committee's findings to be published So these will be available for all to consider. But we are not aware of the timescales for this to take place yet. Sorry, Mr. Johnson, nobody's told us. Following a detailed and comprehensive environmental permit application process, including public and statutory consultation, Veridor Tees Valley Limited, the operator of the facility, was issued an environmental permit by the regulator, the EA, in July 2025. This environmental permit sets strict legal limits for emissions produced by the facility, which is significantly lower than those that we're currently using. A copy of the environmental permit and decision document can be found on the EA website. In terms of Veridor being aware of their obligations, they are fully aware of their requirements set out in the environmental permit. But again, just to reiterate, these are the words provided by the project board. Okay, Mick, but we will certainly, I'll make sure that we're looking out for the findings of the committee and make sure that we digest them as a council.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Mr. Johnson, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, I'm glad you're all aware of it, and I hope you keep an eye out for the results of this select committee and see what the government say about it. Because there's a number of really high up professors, university professors asking questions of the government and advising the government on what to do. So things might change to the TVRF and of course the hazardous waste one that's planned just off the Mad Mile. And Teesside's becoming a target for these incinerators. Latest ones are over at Billingham now, New Road, Seal Sands. They seem to be targeting Teesside only as a dump for burning waste, both domestic and hazardous. So I hope you all keep an eye out for this, because it's not going away. I'm personally going to carry on campaigning, because, and as you'll find, it's the older ones, the older generations who will fight. They're the ones that have the time on their hands. My daughters are too busy, and granddaughters too busy as well. So you'll find it's the older ones who want a better life for their children and their children. So do your best and fight for the residents instead of the corporates. Thank you very much.
I don't think there's a question there, but there are further 4 questions which have been received from the public. The questioners are unable to attend the meeting, so they've asked that their questions be read, taken as read, and asked for the leader to respond in writing.
As a point of order, are we able to make sure those answers are circulated to all members, please?
Councillor Brown? We move on to item 8, which is to consider and agree any reports from Cabinet and Council committees. We have one from Cabinet, date 10th of the 3rd, 26, to review the contract procedure rules. This is a normal debate. Mover has 10 minutes and the seconder has a further 5 minutes, and the mover has 5 minutes to wind up the debate. I take it, Councillor Massey, you'll be moving the things. Can I ask for who's second? Councillor Brown, do you wish to speak or reserve the right to speak? No. Okay. Thank you. Councillor Massey.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I jumped the gun. So these changes have been proposed to ensure that the council is compliant with new legislation, particularly the Procurement Act of 23 and also the Procurement Regulations of 2024. Members who've read the report will also be directed towards the fact that the procurement thresholds in the UK largely change every 2 years. The last time they changed was in January this year, so it's important that we're as up to date as possible. I won't speak for too long today because this has done the full cycle of Cabinet, Resources, Scrutiny and Governance Committee. But as members will be aware, the Council's contract procedure rules form an important, if not vital, part of our Council constitution. It's part 4 if you'd like to read it. The update strengthens our legal compliance whilst improving clarity for officers and also providing members with an assurance that the Council is taking things such as social value, contract management and aggregation very seriously. I'll just highlight the main changes across the new rules in general. So one is that there are updated thresholds. As I've mentioned, these are updated nationally and our local thresholds largely reflect this. In the simplest possible terms, I'll do this in layperson's terms for ease, anything under £10,000, we need to ensure value for money, and contract managers will hopefully ensure that there are at least 3 quotes that take place, and then we'll pick the best value for money and the best fit for the borough from there. Anything over £10,000 up until £207,000 if it's goods, or up to £5 million if it's works. There's a full list of this that you can read in the report. That has to go through a quotation process where there's a requirement for it to be published on our e-procurement platform. Anything above those thresholds, and that does change that very top threshold depending what the service we are commissioning is, then has to go to a very formal tender exercise. So in essence, we're updating those thresholds in line with government guidance, indeed government law. The other main changes are that we now make sure that the contract value is aggregated across the full period. This is to ensure that we don't exceed any of those thresholds. Let's say we have a 4-year contract, there's a chance for a 1-year extension. If we added all 5 years together, perhaps we would have gone over one of those thresholds. The change is to ensure that we never do. Also, an inclusion of contract management. I know this is an area that members are particularly keen about, and I'm happy to see it in the new rules. Now it is a requirement, a mandatory requirement for any contract manager at the authority who procures work such as this to undergo mandatory training. Also, we define the role of contract manager in the new rules so that we can clearly see what's expected of any council staff member who takes on a contract on behalf of the authority. Number 4 of my 5 big things that this report does is that we very explicitly include social value throughout the procurement process, and it's been updated to reflect this so that we can ensure not only are we getting the best deal economically, but also the best deal socially for our residents. And then finally, there are some updates to delegated powers, which is another one of the reasons why the report's here today. Some of these are numbering issues, so we have changed the numbers of the delegated powers in our constitution to reflect some of the changes. Others are to remove references to old antiquated language. We used to use things called approved lists, which was effectively an approved list of contractors that we had. It's no longer legally practicable to maintain such a list. Now we must have open and transparent procurement, so we can't have a list that we go to all the time. We have to open it up to the market where appropriate, as is the legal requirement. And then the final one is to reflect any changes to statutory language that have come through since those Procurement Act, procurement changes, and also the thresholds that we mentioned earlier on. So in essence, I moved the recommendations of the report. Recommendation 1 was to bring it here, it's here. Recommendation 2 was to approve the proposed changes to the executive delegated powers to ensure increased oversight for decision making, and approve the proposed changes to the contract procurement rules. So I moved the report, invite questions, I will sum up at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Massey. Does anyone wish to speak? Councillor Nightingale.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. This obviously is a crucially important part of the Council's decision-making process, and it did actually go through the Resources Committee, which I chair, and also the Governance Committee, which Councillor Morgan chairs. Obviously, we welcome the strengthening of the procurement process, the greater guidance that is being given to people who are making these decisions, the new proposed procurement manager, the delegated changes where there was quite a considerable amount of discussion. I'm one of the few people who've regularly voted against the delegated decisions in the Constitution, but I think it's something that is a move forward, and I'm quite relaxed about this. Obviously, this is brought about by changes following Brexit, and so consequently, it's important that we do respond to this legislation. Again, welcome the changes in the threshold. There was some discussion at the Resources Committee about the use of what's called social value. This basically is where we do really need to have considerable care and ensure that the contracts that are awarded to local firms are economical and are ensuring that we get greater efficiency in ensuring that the circle of economic process, the multiplier process, that is actually working in our borough. Finally, I just want to make the point that I think it's fundamental that there is a need for exposure and transparency in the delegated decisions, and because it's so important that there is accountability in public money. But overall, I think I would go along with the committee, both the committees, in welcoming these changes.
Councillor Kerr.
Likewise, I was only going to add that we particularly welcome the social value element, which has been strengthened, and I understand that was at least partly as a direct result of the conversation that we had at the Resources Committee. So thank you, very welcome report.
Councillor Martin.
Yeah, thank you for your report. Just a quick question regarding the thresholds. Obviously, with these being set by government, I'm taking that these are out in the public so everybody knows what the thresholds are. So what would actually stop contractors, let's say, knowing that if they keep under a threshold by, say, £10,000 and you get 3 quotes that will be higher than the actual job is, knowing that they're under the threshold, so it's easy for the job to get passed?
Councillor Martin. Councillor Clark.
Yeah, thanks very much, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the report. I certainly don't understand much about contracts, but when you mention contract management, Gisborough was hit really badly by, I would say, lack of oversight by Bakehouse Square. Now, that contract was for about £420,000, and it should have been monitored by this local authority. And the way I understand it, it was subcontracted about 3 times to other firms from the original winner of the contract. Then we also had to pay, I understand again, a further £65,000 to rectify their mistakes. Now, am I right in saying something similar might have happened in Loftus, as I look at you, Wayne, about £100,000 being paid for mistakes as well? I'm not too sure about that. So is there something there about contract management? Because we're now also talking about steps at the rugby field in Gisborough as well. Simple procedures, and yet we're now talking about...
Councillor Clark, can you get to your question, please?
Well, I think I'm not talking about contract management. Is there any contract management then? That's what I'm going to ask. You know, so the gentleman there who should have resigned, you know, he bumps you, so you tell me to shut up and sit down.
No, sorry, I'm not telling you to shut up. I'm just asking. Yeah.
You shouldn't be bullied by people. I won't be. Oh, here we go. You see, hang on. Here we go. You're not going to bully me to sit down.
Gentlemen.
And let me just ask this question then. Was contract management mentioned? Yes, it was. What do you mean by contract management? I'll tell you what, it's something that's not being done correctly by this local authority. Right?
Thanks.
And I've mentioned 2 examples there, and that's just to bring it to your attention as well. Thank you very much. And by the way, you won't bully me to sit down.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Leroy.
Right, okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to know, how did you arrive at the particular thresholds, and how much were the thresholds and this particular action in 2026, even though the Procurement Act was in 2023, influenced by the value for money warnings on the authority. And finally, I'd just like to remind Councillor Nightingale, who is a big opponent of delegated decisions, that he delegated the Tees Valley Energy Recovery Facility and cost us 2.4 billion in doing so. Thank you.
Councillor Massey, would you like to respond?
So thank you to Councillors Nightingale and Kerr for positive reception of the report. I think we had a good start. So I think particularly the comments about social value are really welcome, because I think for all of us here that's a real key driver that we need to move forward with on the authority. I do agree with Councillor Nightingale around the need for exposure and transparency throughout this process, but also particularly where members are involved in the process through delegated decisions, so that has been heard loud and clear. Councillor Martin, I thought that was a very fair question. In essence, there's nothing that the council can do to determine what a provider would put in as a bid, but the one thing that these new rules try and stop is what we call aggregation or splitting of contracts. So that's where you could keep under the threshold by bidding 4 times for something under £10,000 to avoid a £40,000 formal exercise. That now is very clear in the rules, it's not applicable. But obviously what people bid is up to them what they bid, whether it's below or above a threshold. These rules are in place to ensure that the council still has strong management for below £10,000 with the 3 quotations which are suggested, and very robust arrangements thereafter in terms of quotations or tender, depending where it is. Councillor Clark's questions about contract management, I can't speak too much about the past issue, but I do think it's a fair point that's made. The new rules are trying to really firm up to avoid things that have gone wrong potentially in the past. I know you highlight one place that's close to your, if not in your ward itself, Councillor Clark. The idea now that all contracts must have a named contract manager. It must have a named contract manager for the lifetime of the contract, so not just when the contract is signed, but all the way through. And every contract manager at the authority has to undertake mandatory, not optional training. We hope that will mitigate any of the small errors that have taken place, or large errors if you're in Gisborough, I'm sure, that have taken place in the past, by ensuring that this is a part and parcel day-to-day activity of anyone in the authority with a contract management responsibility. Councillor Leroyd, in terms of the threshold, these thresholds are largely nationally set, and although yes, the Act and the rules are 23 and 24, it's every 2 years that the thresholds are changed. So in January 26, statutory guidance largely put down what these thresholds are. They have slightly changed, they've come down a couple of thousand basically, so I think, and don't quote me on this, like 213,000 to 207,000 is now the threshold for goods. So it's come down a little. That reflects what's happened over the last 2 or 3 iterations, where the government has suggested slight lowering, but not a major shift by tens or hundreds of thousands. I hope that helps. I move the reports. Thank you.
So, it is a clear point of order, I'm told. Would you like to withdraw?
It was a proposal that came out of his department, and then it was agreed on by the cabinet of which he was part of then. Is factually correct. So I don't see why I should withdraw that. That's what happened.
Thank you, Councillor Leroy's point's being made. Can I ask everyone, can we agree on the contract procedures? Right, so item number 9, receive a report from the portfolio holders. I've got to remind everyone this is a question and answer session. Each question can be answered in turn. No supplementary questions or answers. Questions. And the report today, we have one report today, a report from the Cabinet Member for Neighbourhoods. So, Councillor Bendelow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And before I start, can I thank you for what you've done for the past 12 months as a mayor for the borough. I know you really enjoyed it, and I know how difficult it can be, especially chairing these meetings. So, well done for that. As Cabinet Member for Neighbourhoods Services, I would like to begin by formally recognising the significant contribution of the previous portfolio holder, Councillor Brooke. His work has helped establish a strong operational foundation across a wide range of frontline services that remain essential to residents' daily lives. So thank you for that. Moving forward, I am committed to working with elected members, officers, partners and community organisations to deliver high quality services. However, it is important to acknowledge that we continue to operate within a constrained financial environment, with the Council currently in the survive phase of its medium-term financial strategy. Despite these challenges, the dedication of the volunteers and community groups across the borough remains a vital asset. Their continued efforts help foster civic pride and support service delivery in ways that the Council alone cannot achieve. The Neighbourhoods Service portfolio covers a diverse and high visible range of services, including waste collection, residue recycling, garden and food waste, household waste recycling centre, Dunsdale and transfer operations, street cleansing and fly tipping removal, parks, open spaces and tree maintenance, bereavement services and cemeteries, children's play areas and allotments, CCTV enforcement and community safety. These services must continuously evolve in response to legislative changes, technology advancement, environmental priorities and resident expectations. A key focus is adapting to climate change and increased recycling rates through new initiatives. Neighbourhood service continues to experience very high levels of public engagement, demonstrating both demand and visibility. Members' inquiries, nearly 3,000. Contact centre interactions, over 54,000. MP inquiries, over 200. FOI, over 235. And complaints, stage 1 and stage 2, 23. Service requests via complaints team, 477. And we've had 17 people who've said that we've done a good service. To improve responsiveness and additional operation capacity, I'm looking at introducing within the clean and green team an extra performance, an extra crew that can go out and try and get things done quicker. And the rationale around that is I want to try and keep the clean and green and the grass cutting on a schedule. So if we have alternative ad hoc responses, questions coming from members or residents, that we aren't pulling people off their contract and their routine to go and get that work done, so we can maintain the schedule, so we aren't delaying that. And there's further talks taking place so I can get that done and get that into practice as soon as I can. Food waste collection rollout. The introduction of weekly food waste collections have been a major priority and achievement this year. Key elements include we've got 7 vehicles, 145,000 containers, nearly 70,000 liner rolls. Recruitment, we've got 21 staff, drivers and loaders, and we've got 5 disposal facilities. The rollout began in March 2026, and we are anticipating that this will be finished by the end of May, and by doing the food waste, this will increase recycling by between 3 and 4%. Currently, the food waste, we've had over 100 tonne of food waste. We've just started doing the Thursday collections today, and from the Tuesday and Wednesdays we've had 285 missed bins out of well over 30,000. So we are well in, doing really well considering how much of a new product it is. We've got new staff that we've had to try and blend in. A lot of experience to get in there, so it's a lot of new way of working, so that's probably had an effect on the old team because we don't want to go out new people, just by themselves. We've had a lot of experience in that to try and keep the service going. And to be fair to you, the service has been going really, really well. We have picked up the odd issue, and if we still get any more, if you let us know, we'll get that sorted out. But overall, we are currently really happy with what's going on. Recycling and contamination reduction efforts to improve recycling quality include targeted communication campaigns. Introducing a bag tagging for contamination was done before. That scheme is now under review, and there should be a paper coming next month on the back of what Councillor Cutler asked the question of. So we'll see what that paper says and take it from there. The garden waste service, we had over 25,000 people subscribed. So far, we're up to around about 22,000. The target is around about 24. That gets us just under £1 million. And I think when it was introduced 2 years ago, I think the target was about 500,000, top of my head. So you can see that the progress in that. And that's obviously helped massively, especially when we have got massive issues with spending and stuff. So that helps. We've spent a lot of money on the infrastructure at Dunsdale Tip. We've got new signage and fencing and road markings. We've expanded it to 2 operational lanes, so you're not stuck behind people. You can go into a second lane to get out. And we've also installed and upgraded infrastructure. We are looking at trying to put more of an automated booking system in place, so then we can do a bit more automation. So if for any reasons it's closed for, like, for example, high winds, we can then send a message out. At the moment, we haven't got that facility. So that's something we want to look at when we get that sorted out. The key waste, we do 3.57 million bins. We provide over 60 odd tonnes of waste handled, and we do 5,500 bulky waste collections. The estimated recycling rate currently is around 28%. Our priorities going forward is stabilising the food waste service. We've got coming in 2027 is introduction of flexible plastic collection. We've got procurement of new recycling contracts. The implementation, as I said, about the booking system in the Dunsdale. And obviously we've got national waste policy changes to the EPR, DRS and ETS. That's like the bottle exchange stuff and stuff like that. Clean and green, 4,800 incidents recorded in fly tipping at 377 tonnes. We've issued 120 enforcement fines. We are trying to do more in there. We're trying to see if we can bolster the team in that, so we can get more done. The team is really stretched at the moment. Environmental improvements, we've targeted alleyways and stuff like that. So we did a programme in Carla now that proved very, very successful. We've moved that now to South Bank, and we've just started doing that in South Bank, looking at the alleyways and so on and so on. We'll continue working with partnership and housing providers. We'll also continue doing the community campaign, i.e. they bring out your drop stairs that, you know, we do 3 or 4 in each area every year. The community campaign, the Great British Spring Clean, 620 bags of litter collected, 34 deep cleans were done across 17 walks, and obviously the multi-agency cleanups continue to be well supported and oversubscribed. Bereavement, we've introduced a plot box system, improving records and management. We put additional staffing in. I think it said 3 on the thing report. We are going to spend more because we think we need more staffing. We think we need to do more now with cemeteries, so we'll be spending some more improving the recruitment on that. Rotation improvement program across all cemeteries. These improvements are delivering enhancing service quality and condition. The tree management, we've removed 137 affected trees. We've planted over 700 new trees. We've secured Forestry Commission funding. The work contributes to long-term environment resilient and biodiversity. Community safety, we've updated the community safety with the cameras, over 500,000 spent. With the savings made from that, we're trying to put a business plan together to get more control staff in there, and that will come in some sort of form when that proposal is ready, because we need to put more staff in there. But they've already started seeing an improvement with more cameras, and we've managed to get more ASB caught and stuff like that, so we've got more people prosecuting on the back of that. We've got targeted ASB hotspot patrols funded by Police and Crown Commissioner. Antisocial behaviour, we had 17 property closures due to serious ASB, increased use of enforcement tools, and we have a strong multi-agency collaboration. Policy and partnerships, updated policy, public space protection orders, active community safety partnership, continue prevent programme compliance engagement. These combined efforts are helping to reduce crime, improve safety and support of vulnerable residents. Allotments, infrastructure upgrades, fence, trash, drainage. We've also provided free compost to Teesville allotments, you know, and there will be further compost free going up the borough like we did last year. Obviously we've got challenges, we've got ongoing issues of vandalism, fly tipping, and we're going to probably end up getting reduced support from probation services as they want to direct their staff on to do more visible things. And basically the key challenges is financial constraints, limited service development, increased service demand and expectation, environment pressures and climate change, workforce resource and pressures. Neighbourhood service continues to deliver essential IPAC frontline service that directly influence residents' quality of life. Despite financial pressures, significant progress has been achieved across waste services, environmental improvements, community safety and infrastructure. Thank you very much. I'll finish on that, Chair. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bendelow. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just from a leadership point of view, I'd like to thank Neil, Councillor Bendelow and Councillor Brock for the seamless handover that took place. They've been really professional in the way they've worked and make sure everything continued as planned. Neil, just a quick question. It's motivated, I could have spoke to you outside this meeting, but I've just had another message about grass cutting, and it's not on our land beyond housing. I asked the team a couple of days ago, and we're all up to date. Could we possibly put some comms out just to inform people that we're on target and try and stop the confusion with the public? That, I mean, Beyond, members will remember Beyond were in here 2 years ago talking about the grass, and again it's getting confused that we're behind when we're not. So if you could possibly get on the comms and manage the fact that we're not behind.
Councillor Bendelow.
Sorry, we're on our just at our third cut, so there's been two full cuts, and all the major roads have been done. And bear in mind, we did start late because of the wet weather, so we have started late, but we're right on top. And yeah, we're doing as much as we can, as best we can. Yeah, so we'll get some comms out regarding the council's position. Nothing over a year. Thank you.
Councillor Nightingale.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much for your report, Councillor Bendelow, and wish you all the luck in the world in your new portfolio. It's a hard area to be dealing with. I've got essentially 4 issues I want to raise. On page 42, there's a graph that says the most popular cases. Would you agree that these also include complaints? And secondly, on page 46, there are graphs that are almost unreadable on fly tipping. Would you agree to circulate these so that they are readable for members? Then we can analyse what has actually been going on. Obviously, I welcome the food recycling arrangements, but it's essential that we reuse resources and ensure that we reduce pollution. But I've got 2 questions on this. I think we need more information, for example. Will there be a continuation of the grant for the running costs of the scheme after the initial innovation? It's all very well having capital costs, but the running costs are also important. And secondly, has there been an evaluation of the distribution of bins and analysis of the collection rates for this waste? We never got ours delivered. Some of our neighbours never got them delivered, and we know there have been problems. So I think it's something that we need further information of. Perhaps you could report to the Environment Committee. Finally, would you agree with me that the arrangements for the community clear-ups are essentially inadequate and need to be reconsidered? The arrangements say that it is for 100 households, which is far too restrictive, and areas such as overfields, which are built on the basis not of streets but on community areas and so forth, are totally inappropriate with this scheme. And would he also, incidentally, I do welcome the increase in the green clean and green teams, would you like to send them to the other fields estate, which is continually needing the attention regularly of a hot, a team that is there regularly to ensure that the litter and the fly tipping are dealt with. So perhaps the clean and green team that you've got newly set up could have their first go at clearing up an estate that does need it.
Councillor Bendelow.
About where should I start here? Right, so the funding for the food waste at the moment is supported by central government. So this funding we got this year was over £1 million, and so I can send you the fact sheet if you want me to send it, telling you basically what it is. But we've actually collected so far, and so far we reckon we're on track. They reckon the food waste percentage was about 30%. So 30% is reckon what the government says is minimum. We reckon we're on track with that currently. We reckon some areas might be higher than that. So between 30 and 40%. 30 was the minimum. And we've collected over 106 tonnes so far. In terms of the cost and the stuff like that, at the moment it's in with a grant. And I don't know how long that is lasting for. Currently, when I've looked at some more information, the food waste to get it disposed of is £25 a tonne, and I think at the moment it's around about £122 a tonne for household waste. So there is potential, massive saving potential. You know what I mean? So if we get 30%, there's potential over 300,000 potential saving. But we need to look about the grant, how long that grant's going to last for. But at the moment, it's funded by government. Apart from we spent an extra £230,000 on an extra vehicle, which came out of our fleet process, but longer term. But I can share that. I can share this briefing note I've got, so you've got the information. That's all right. In terms of what was the other question about the fly tipping? In terms of the fly tipping with Beyond and all that, it's 150 houses. That's all I'll do. I can look at that with the team and see if we can do anything with that. See if we can increase it, because it's not a lot of houses as well, and it's very difficult. And the issue we've got as well is if you don't live in a beyond area, then it's basically the council does that, and I think it's unfair that you should be disadvantaged because you don't live in a beyond area or a social housing area. So it's something we need to look at moving forward, to be fair. Yeah. Is there anything else, or is that it? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bendelow. I note we've got a lot of questions coming up, so I'm going to cut off. The last questioner will be Councillor Leroyd, and I won't be accepting any more. Councillor Salvin.
Mayor. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just on food waste, Councillor Bendelow, I'm actually in favour of this. I think it's been good so far. I mean, I think Eston was one of the first areas, Eston was one of the first areas to go live with this, and so it's kind of embedded in now. A few questions I'm having from the public, because I am having to try and sell it still to members of the public, and I am saying to them, it's going to save the council money in the long run. You know, do we know how much, obviously, it's going to save us in the long run in terms of costs of it not going to incineration and things like that? Is there a figure, or if not, can it be circulated? Because I couldn't find anything in the report. And just one thing on the food waste, I've heard from a few residents, including my own mother, is they've put the tags out for the new bin liners and they haven't turned up. I don't know if there's an issue with that, but yeah, there's a few residents raised that with me as well. And one from myself, and Councillor Brook will know what's coming here. For some reason where I live, they keep forgetting my green bin. Every single year it gets forgotten several times. I'm just wondering, is there an issue with where I live and green bins? Because, yeah, do not collect, yeah, probably is that, isn't it? And one thing I will say is I did offer Councillor Bendelow a pint at the match the other day, and he refused because he had to go home. But yeah. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Bendelow.
And declared it. Right, in terms of the cost, it's £25 a tonne for food, and residual waste about £122. So, and if you get 30%, it's over 300,000. That's just a ballpoint figure. You've got to look at liners and stuff, you know what I mean? Because obviously we've said that until the election we'll keep the liners free. Because if we want to introduce a new service and we want people to use it, we've got to give them everything they can to use that. So the liners cost over 28,000. That's what they would cost for them to keep doing. I've had a couple of people said that the liners replaced, so I've already picked that up with Phil today, and I'll find out what's going on with that. I've already asked him what's going on with that. And in terms of your green bin, if you give us your address, we'll have a look at that. I think what's happened is, because this is a new service as well, they've had to mess about with some of the crew and the tweaking it, because it's a new service, it's a new people are unknown doing it, so and it's taken a lot of time to bed in. So we still sort of making tweaks now. But if you give us the address, I'll find out what's going on. All right, thank you.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Cabinet member has presented a really interesting report. He took the liberty of complimenting you on your prowess. May I do the same on your extracurricular activities? Well done on completing the East Loop of the Langbath Loop. A remarkable achievement. So well done. I do hope that every member in the chamber has supported you financially in the success that you achieved on that day. To your report, at the last council meeting, you, in response to 2 questions that I raised, averred that you would take into account my concerns, converse with your team, and that they would be in touch with me to address the issues that I'd raised. I thanked you for that. I still await the contact. Your leadership is clear, and I welcome all the effort that you are making. I hope that this will distill down into the team beneath you. On the subject of recycling, our achievement is pathetic, is it not? 28%. The average for the UK is 44%. Wouldn't it be nice to be average? So I look forward to all the efforts that you advise you're going to be taking shortly to look critically at how we as an authority can improve our recycling rate. It is not only good for the environment, but it is clearly a challenge financially if we are going to continue to incinerate, and we know the gate price for that, which you've reminded us of today. So we really need, as an authority, to get our act together. And I wish you every success in doing that, and look forward to the work that you're promising you're going to be doing in the coming months.
Councillor Bendler.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. In regards to no one contacting yet, I'll find out why that hasn't happened. In regards to the recycling contamination, there's a paper coming at the next, I probably should get it the next week or two, regarding the outputs from the trial that took place last year, and then we'll evaluate that and decide how we move forward on that. But you're right, I think we need to do more in terms of recycling.
Councillor Kay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm afraid I am more cynical than the rest of you. Probably it's because I'm older than the rest of you. In my opinion, Redcar and Cleveland Council is a mucky borough. You know, as my colleague here has said, the recycling rate is far less than the national average. However, if we went and concentrated on fly tipping removal and litter picking, we could probably up that to the average, because there's so much about this borough. It's a disgusting mess, even in rural areas that I represent, and it's much worse in the towns. I think this is what we should be concentrating on, and trying to marry the rubbish collection and the cleanliness of the borough together. Now, there are 4 streams of refuse now. It's almost acting as a deterrent to recycle, because I spend about 1 hour, I've worked it out, each week sorting my rubbish and recycling it. And this is going to get even greater with the small bins that we've now been issued with. And I mentioned small bins because just imagine what's going to happen in the winter. These little bins, once they get emptied, they don't weigh anything. They'll just be blown everywhere. And how will we then sort out which bin belongs to which person? You know, I don't think we think these things through. You know, I can take you around areas in my ward where the mess from the bins and the bins themselves are disgusting. I'll be first to acknowledge this, and I've reported it. One street, I won't mention it, it's been sent letters by this council to tell it to get its act together. Having said that, it's only a minority in that particular street. But now, the government's burdened everybody with another stream of bins. And, you know, it's more and more, the bins become rubbish themselves. You know, I don't think we live in the real world, to be honest. Now, moving on to another of my hobby horses, missed bins. In rural areas like mine, you've got a lot of sort of homesteads and isolated farms and roads which nobody's ever heard of. And the bin men, I won't say frequently, often is probably the most accurate word, miss bins. Then I had one lady, just this week, she's had to wait 5 weeks to get a bin emptied. And I've sent in at least 3 messages about this bin. You know, this is what we should be concentrating on. And this morning, the bin men went down the lane and they just drove straight past a full bin and just left it there. You know, what's going on? I think,
Councillor Kay, can you get to your
yes, well, my point is, on this particular aspect, is that the bin men should be schooled more in difficult rural areas, because it is complicated, and if you switch the men, they perhaps don't know where they are, you know, so we need more, I won't call it education, training is the word, about where to go and pick up the bins. But I'm cynical, rightly I think, about all these streams of recycling. We want more concentration on fly tipping and litter picking, and you know, we need more education on the whereabouts of our people's bins.
Councillor Bendel.
I'm not sure where to start here. Right, just on the most popular service request, bulky waste collection, missed waste collection, waste general inquiry, fly tipping. You know, they're the top 4 what customers, what residents phone in for. So obviously there is proactive stuff going on about that. In terms of the food waste, I think the food waste has gone down a lot better, to be fair to you. I mean, the small little caddy, a lot of people like the little caddy, to be fair to you, and it stops the bin from getting a lot smellier. I know there's some people who don't want to use it and they don't have to use it, but a lot of people are using it for that exact reason. You know, and as a borough, we can save a hell of a lot of money on it if we get it right. There is teething problems, we'll get them sorted, we'll iron them out, and we move forward. Thank you.
Councillor Pugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Bendelow. Mine's much more straightforward. Thank you for the work you're doing in your department, and thank you to Councillor Brooke as well beforehand. A few years ago, I stood up here and spoke about the need for a CCTV camera on Allendale Road in Spencerbeck, and I know I've raised it with you before. Really glad that was installed, but unfortunately, as you're aware, it keeps getting attacked. It's been firebombed.
continues to get attacked. So my question is, please, can you, despite the costs associated with putting it back up every single time, can the council remain committed to having a CCTV camera there? I appreciate it's expensive or whatever, but actually, you know, the fact it's getting attacked time and time again sort of shows how important it is and shows that there is a need for a CCTV camera there. Thank you.
Councillor Bendelow.
Is this the one on Allendale?
Yeah, Spencer
Yeah,
Lake Shops.
yeah, we aware of it, and I think the problem at the moment is where it actually is cited is like it's not a proper post or something, so that's why we're having a bit of a problem. So leave it with us, but we are aware of it. Yeah.
Councillor Corley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Bendelow, for your report. I'd also like to thank you for the site visit we did recently, where I did raise the issue with the CCTV on Wilton Avenue that was hacked down almost a year ago. I just wanted to know, have we feedback yet on when we're going to be getting that replaced?
Councillor Bendelow.
I'll put that on the list for the other one. No, I'll ask the question where we are, because obviously that was chopped down, wasn't it? That one, wasn't it? Yeah, so we need to look at that, yeah. But like you said, the beauty thing about the CCTV and the new network has worked massively. So obviously we need to get them installed as soon as we can. So yeah, leave that with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bendelow. Councillor Davies.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'll also say thank you for your last year of service as Mayor. I'm sure everyone on our side anyway will appreciate the year that you've had. It's been a pretty effective one. So just in terms of the report, I thank Councillor Bendelow for the report. I'll start with the social media from the council, because I think this just highlights, leading on from food waste, just the state of collections and stuff in the borough. That it's an undeniable fact with the introduction of weekly food waste collections in Redcar and Cleveland that your bins are practically living a busier social life than we are, which I think just sums up the general population's thoughts on waste collection at the moment. I just want to start with, we've had an email this morning, which you'll probably be aware of, about the smaller farm bin waste collection truck. Yeah. Now this seems to be an ongoing issue, particularly for East Cleveland, but I'm aware it's probably the same in other areas that might use that service. That this seems to be happening quite on a regular basis throughout the year. Is it down to breakdowns and stuff? And if that's the case, are we looking at getting a new vehicle? I noticed that on your report you sort of mentioned that we've got some new waste for the food waste. I just wondered if you could tell us if there's any idea of getting a new farm wagon, because obviously it's important for these locations in our borough that are hard to get to, where the big truck can't seem to get up to, or onto the little back streets and stuff. So it's important that we're still making sure that we're getting around and getting this waste collected. So if you could give us an update on that, that'd be great. I've had a couple of requests over the last couple of days. We've just had our food waste receptors delivered in the Loftus ward over the last week or so. And I've had a couple of big families sort of ask the question if there's bigger receptors available, because probably they'll fill their food waste receptor in the first day, you know, with having young kids and everything else. The likelihood is these receptors will fill up pretty quickly. And if we're talking about, say, the food waste cost and bringing that down, we want to make sure that all the residents have got the right tools to be able to facilitate the council in terms of making that saving as well. And then just on the food waste side, will we as a council get any regular service updates and potentially I don't know, 6 monthly food waste collections data, just to see how well it goes? Because if it's not going well, to see what we can maybe do to improve it. And if it's going well, then obviously brilliant. But as 44% as an average has been mentioned before, we're obviously somewhere from that at the moment. And then finally, I'll finish with the fact that over a year ago, so I can't really complain at you because it's not really your responsibility at the moment, but you've taken over the baton, and as has been mentioned, there was apparently a seamless transition, so I'm hoping that you'll know about this, seeing as though there was a seamless transition, so we'll see. So over a year ago, the cabinet member, police, officers from the council met in Liverton Mines. And in Liverton Mines, we had a walk around the whole of the area. All the ward councillors were there, and we went through all the issues on the allotment site, on the back streets, about burnt out cars that are on the allotment site, about land that's never been cleaned up. And we had loads of promises made on that day, and I'm not aware of anything that's been done. And I've spoken to the other ward members as well. We feel like we're just getting forgotten about, and this is something that's been going on long enough, and I think the residents of Liverton Mines deserve to get some action. It's an allotment site that's owned by the council. It may have at some point had an involvement with the allotments association, but that allotments association has long since been disbanded, and the allotment site in Liverton Mines is an opportunity for the council to get back to a thriving allotment site again. And I just feel like it has been forgotten about, and nothing's getting done about it, and it's about time something was done about it. So I'm hoping that you've had that message passed across to you. The shake of the head tells me it wasn't a seamless transition as what was made out, but if you're happy to come and meet with me and the other ward members, I'm sure, let's get up to Liverton Mines, because I'm sure the park as well will come up on your horizon if it's not already there as well, because that's another promise that's been failed to be delivered to us yet. So hopefully you'll get to see her. I didn't mention the leader by name, so I don't think he's got the right reply.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Is that way okay with you, Councillor Davies?
Yeah, well, I was asking the question of the cabinet member. I didn't mention anyone else by name, so I believe I had no reason for the leader to stand up and give a thing. I was asking the cabinet member. I asked the cabinet member if he'd had a seamless transition, and the answer by the shake of his head was that he didn't get a seamless transition.
Councillor Davies, I still expect Councillor Vendelow to answer your question, but he's got that.
Thank you. Just in regards to the truck, I've never read the email yet, but I've seen it, and I can't believe I'm full council I've had a problem with the truck. But a few problems with these new food waste trucks as well, by the way, breaking down and stuff, which is not not good. But let me have a look at it, see what the problems are, because if it's happening all the time, we need to find out what's going on and put some more reliable resource in there. Caddies, what they're saying about the caddies is they reckon no one should be able to fill that. If people are filling it, then let us know and we can get something done about that, because we want more people to use the food waste. They get emptied every week, so it's not every 2 weeks. You will see a bit of an increase at first if you get them a bit earlier, but then every week, you know. But if they do, let us know and we'll get that sorted. Service update, yeah, I'm waiting for an update. Obviously, we're going to get some more data, so, and that will be provided, no problem going forward. That's what we want to understand, how good it's taking place. And Liverton Mines, I'll find out what's going on, and I haven't got a problem meeting, yeah, we'll have that chit chat about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bendelow. Councillor Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Bendelow. Wayne has peed on my bonfire a little bit, really. But I would like to say that if you could nail everything in your portfolio, none of us would have a great deal to do, because nearly every complaint that we get is your portfolio, which sadly you've got. No, not your fault, but you've got it. But obviously, I'm just going to mention, because I've got my list here, but Liverton Mines Play Park is something that Councillor White and Councillor Davis, we've had meetings up there. Councillor Brown was with us on a walkabout, so I believe that he has stood up and, he just stood up and said about that. But it seems that we've done a lot of work on Liverton Mines Play Park, which I believe to be the worst in the whole borough. And I'm not sure, and maybe somebody could update us, but there was a fire about a year ago on a piece of equipment, and that's still not being replaced. So, you know, we do. I was going to ask you to come out and visit us anyway, and I will drive, and I'll buy lunch at Willow Cake Shop, so there will be no food waste. Let me guarantee you that. I also would like to know what the plans are for Loftus Cemetery, which is rapidly filling up. And I think, you with the meeting about 2 years ago, me and Barry were at a meeting about that, and they were on about buying more land up there, to which I told the officer that the land has already been purchased by somebody, so we're very slow, snooze you lose sort of thing. The cemetery is filling up, and I would like, to obviously visit that one. And then the allotments, what Wayne's talked about, and myself, there's an allotment, the allotment at Liverton Mines is a big old piece of land. And if it's not getting used, I think we need to be looking at something else for it. But every time we've had a visit, everybody's sort of saying, oh, it's not ours, it's not ours. But it is, there's big RCBC signs up on it, and it is our land, because we've checked on it. But it's not just that allotment either. There's one at Loftus, which is owned by Redcar and Cleveland. The land's owned for it. And it's something that I've said in this chamber before. We're not a very cash-rich council, but we have a lot of assets. So we need to be using these assets. So if these allotments, they're not bringing any income at all, and they're just getting used for antisocial behaviour. So again, if you can agree to come up and meet Linda and Wayne and myself, that'll be great. I'll do the driving. I'll do the buying of the pies. So thank you very much. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Bendel.
No.
Thanks. Yeah, I haven't got a problem coming up. We'll talk about them 3 points. I'll get some information about the cemetery for you, because I haven't got an update on that. And we'll talk about the play park in a bit when we get up there. All right. Thank you.
Councillor Joy.
Thanks, Councillor Bendelaw. I heard mention of pies, so I thought I'd get up. No, I didn't really. Thank you. I noticed there's a few bits in the report that we've touched on at some climate scrutiny meetings, so I just wanted to ask a couple of questions around waste management, and then a question about fly tipping. So with waste management, we know that our recycling rate is pretty appalling and is declining, which is extremely depressing, and I know that loads of work has been done by council officers and yourselves and your previous portfolio holder. So it's not through lack of trying, but I can't help but wondering if there's a bit of a disjointed sort of strategy. So for example, bin tagging, it was a really successful strategy, and we knew it was successful, but it was paused, and I understand it'll be reassessed. But my question is, was it the right thing to do to pause it when it is actually doing so well? It's quite confusing for the public. We're on, we're off, are we tagging, are we not tagging? So that was my first mini question. The other one is, obviously there's lots going on at the minute. So there's the emissions trading scheme, there's the extended producer responsibility, the bottle deposit scheme, soft plastics, which is a boon. Obviously the food waste, which is amazing. Please do it if you're not already doing it, and try and sell it like Councillor Salvin's doing. But my ask is that there's so many moving parts now. Why don't we have an overarching waste management strategy? We don't seem to have anything that fits all those component parts together. So I think what I'd like to see is some work being done to pull it all together. Is that on the cards? Is that something that you will be looking at? And I think the third thing is the fly tipping. So in 3.4, the multi-agency community cleanups, I think all members, and I certainly am going to speak for Julie and I, if she doesn't mind, really welcome this, and there are massive hotspots for it. But it talks about applications for the first 6 months of 2026 received, and a panel will be held to agree the location. I feel a bit like, who's on this panel? Will it be yourself, Councillor Brown? Is it a bit like the X Factor? Will we get through to judges' houses and boot camp? I think Julie was late because she was perfecting a dance routine because we're forming a Bucks Fizz tribute act. Will we be through? It's a bit of a roulette, and so I feel like we're all competing with each other to get these community cleanups. Why is that?
Councillor Bendelaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regards to the tagging and pausing, it was a trial period, and the trial had finished, and then there was evaluation which had taken place. That'll be coming out in the next month or so, and then we'll see where that takes us. In regards to the waste management strategy going forward with plastics and all that, we're not sure yet if that will actually come in. We're not sure if there's going to be a buy yet. So when I had a meeting with the officers on, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday this week, they're going to write to the government to see where we are with that, to see if that's going to be rolled out. So once we know if that's that's going to happen, then we can start planning for that. In regards to the fly tipping and the partners, from what I understand, it's the likes of Beyond Housing on there, the fire brigade on there, the police are on there, and our community people, and they'll then make the decision. I'm not on there to do that, and that's where it comes from. I did ask at my meeting yesterday if we could do some more of these, because what I did raise was if you don't live in the Beyond Housing area, in a sense you're being disadvantaged as such, because beyond what we can do them ourselves, but obviously we wouldn't have the help from Beyond Housing. As Councillor Nightingale said, I think they only do up to about 150 houses, which when you think about it, it's not a lot of houses. But let's see what we can look at it and then see where we go with that. But in terms of the partnership, it's like Beyond Housing, police, fire, who make that call.
Thank you, Councillor Bendelow. Councillor Leroyd.
Similar to Councillor Joyce's question there, just with a little bit more detail. So we signed the contract, we didn't sign it. Someone in the room did, it wasn't councillors. 245,000 tonne limit on the Viridor deal. And I made councillors aware previously that the calculations were incorrect because they took the global figure for waste. They didn't take the residual figure for waste. So this means that the 245,000 tonne penalty is going to come in if we don't obviously hit that target. And the calculations were done as well before enhanced recycling schemes, films and plastics. They were done before the deposit scheme, which is coming in, all welcome things. And they were also done before food waste as well was considered. We were told a year ago that anaerobic digestion was a thing of fantasy, and here it is, only a year on. Time moves fast, doesn't it, in technology. It's used everywhere, and we've got food waste collections everywhere. Amazing. When food waste is taken out, it's going to push us even further below that tonnage limit. So my question would be, are some of the problems that you're potentially having in terms of advertisements being put in bins, hangers and so on, to really drive that recycling target, being hampered potentially by other departments with one eye on this particular penalty clause, knowing that it will cause them severe financial damage? So potentially a conflict of interests there in what's trying to be achieved and the contract that was signed.
Councillor Bendelow.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I asked this question: has food waste being taken into account with the incinerator? And they said yes. They've put 30% reduction because of food waste in it, so it's already been taken into account that food waste will be coming off at the 30%. Obviously, if it's more, then it's more, but that's what they based on the numbers for the incinerator.
Thank you, Councillor Bendelow. Councillor Kerr, I know you were hidden from me at the time when I made my announcement, so you will be the last speaker. Questioner.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Thank you, Neil, Councillor Bendelow, for your report. I know it's a very, very busy portfolio area. The plastics collection, it has been mentioned. I'm assuming that would mean another bin. Not sure. Thank you. And also the 28% recycling rate, which I agree is rubbish. Does it? Does it include? I mean, it says it includes composting, so that includes the green waste that we are collecting. Because if so, I would have expected a significant increase when we started those collections a couple of years ago. And also, you mentioned it's including waste for reuse as well. What is the reuse element of the household waste that's collected? Because if there is scope to extend that part of it, because that is like the bottom, isn't it, of the waste hierarchy, that's what we need to do most of, is actually reuse before we recycle. Yeah, it's all in the graph at 3.0, just above the graph there. Okay, and finally, I know it's a public report. It might be nice to mention all of the lovely volunteers that we have, without whom the borough would not be as clean as it is. It would certainly be quite a bit muckier, because I know we do all appreciate what they do. They save the council a lot of money, certainly in Gisborough and in Redcar. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Bendelow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regards to the bin, I think for the plastic, it was like a plastic bag they were looking at. But again, I think they're in talks with the government to see what's going to happen. It was like a bag. If you remember when we first started doing recycling, we used to have them clear bags in them. We used to tie on the bag or whatever. 28% recycling, yeah, it is what it is. I can't, no, it's something we need to look at. And what was he doing? Sorry, I couldn't get the last bit. Yeah, must do. I'll get back to you. Yeah. No, let me get back to make sure the numbers are right, and I'll message you about 28%. Yeah. I think at the beginning of my portfolio, we rely on a lot of volunteers that pick all over the borough, and I have a good working relationship with Southgate litter pickers because they do a marvellous job all over. But let me get the answers to the other one and get back to them ones, all right? If I miss them, send me an email, it's all right, please.
Thank you, Councillor Bendelow, for your report and for council questions. Move on to item 10. There are no motions submitted for this meeting. Item 11, there are no changes to have been received for appointments. I suppose not surprising, is it AGM next week? That only leaves item 12. We have 14 questions from members of the council. Before we add to that, shall I ask anyone would they like a 10-15 minute break before we start on that? Or are they happy to go ahead? You'd like a break? 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minute break. Okay, everybody, can I ask you to take your seats, please? And we'll make a move on the questions. As there are 14 of them, it's going to take a little time. So the quicker we can restart, the quicker we can get through the questions. Right, thank you everybody. I know we've got a large number of questions again this week, so can I ask everyone to take the questions as read, rather than just spending 5 minutes just reading out the speech, and then get on to questions and answers. So can we go to question 1, from Councillor Martin to Councillor Bendelow.
Red. Oh, wait. I spent hours doing.
Madam Martin, I read as well. All right. Thank you for the question, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. Unfortunately, these incidents have not been reported or shared with our community safety team. However, if further incidents do occur, we would encourage residents to report these to the council, and then we can work with the police to attempt to resolve the issues. The highways team will roll additional fan aggregate into the service road to fill the voids and seal the service. I have no problem whatsoever coming out and meeting views to and speak with residents about it. I would also like to add that Anna Turley, MP, has been in touch with me regarding these ongoing concerns. I'm aware that she has written directly to residents around the tip and surrounding areas to gather detailed feedback on how people are being affected and to ensure we have the fullest possible picture of the issues being experienced. I know this work is already underway with a number of residents already feeding back to Anna's office, and I think that local insight will be vital in helping shape any long-term solutions and actions going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bendelow. Councillor Martin, do you have a supplementary?
Yeah, thank you. I can actually speak now. First of all, thank you for basically replying to emails, and it's been very responsive since obviously you took into office. It's great that we can get things done when emails are replied to. Just another thing, obviously we are going now into silly season regarding the elections next year. Can we just not make this political? At the end of the day, it's about the residents of Ripon Way who actually need some help from obviously the council, me, you, everyone. And I don't want it splattered around all the way that it's Labour, when it's a joint effort between everyone.
Councillor Bendelow?
I totally agree. No, it won't be. It'll be for the residents first. Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to question 2 from Councillor Martin to Councillor Quartermain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Martin, for your question, and happy 3-year anniversary to you too. Well Hill Bank Junction has previously been investigated, as you know. The main issue identified was visibility in the flower bed in the central reserve there was removed as a result, as you're aware. Visibility is now good in both directions. In terms of recorded injury collisions, there have been none this year and 3 over the last 5 years, and on that data, the junction is not currently assessed as a road safety hotspot. On Lazenby, we are continuing discussions with the TVCA around access and egress to the village, including options that could support the return of a bus service. We'll have to wait and see. Okay.
Councillor Martin, do you have a supplementary question?
I just want to know, obviously, with the data, what's actually classed as a crash? Because there was a crash only weeks ago, and then it was at top of the Whale Bank, and it was a serious crash. Also, last year, there was a survey put out, and I passed it on to residents of Lazenby from the TVCA, asking for feedback regarding the access into Lazenby and about the bus service. This was last year. Have you got any update on this survey? Because no one knows anything.
I can move on to question 3 from Councillor Martin to Councillor Quartermain. Councillor Quartermain.
I'm just doing the supplementary, Mr. Mayor, but thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's been a long year. So you'll be aware that not all incidents go to the police. You know, so quite often it's an insurance thing and people exchange numbers and stuff. And not all behaviours relate to the layout of the road and of the highway or traffic management. So that's why, you know, we can't always pick up on every incident. And like I say, not every action, everything that happens in the highway is related to the way the highway is built in the infrastructure. Regarding Lazenby, as I said, we will be working closely with the TVCA over the coming months to finalise a delivery plan, and that will start from next year. You appreciate that over the course CRSDS. It's got about 27 projects. So and some of these have to go through feasibility, and it's a long-winded process, and this is just one of them. But it's there. It's still on the agenda, and I will ensure while I'm still here that I'll continue to push for it. Okay. Like I always say, just knock us a few lines, and I'll forward that on and get some information back for you. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Quartermain. We will now move on to question 3. From Councillor Martin to Councillor Quartermain. So, Councillor Quartermain would like to respond to the question.
Okay, this is to do with parking on Eston High Street. And as you're aware, again, a number of site visits have already taken place involving highways and enforcement officers, and several measures have been introduced as a result. That includes additional restrictions on the High Street and California Road, as well as bollards outside Le Basel, to tackle specific problem areas. Parking restrictions are already in place across Eston Square, and enforcement patrols patrol the area as frequently as resources allow. Any time that you're calling them in, obviously enforcement will come along. Thank you.
Councillor Martin, would you have a supplementary question?
Yeah, that's not really answering a question. I've asked for a full overview of parking within Eston Square. Is that feasible?
Councillor Quartermain.
Yeah, as always, I'm always happy to further discuss with yourself, with all ward members, on any remaining hotspots. In fact, officers have attempted to arrange a meeting in these council offices with you, with yourselves, to get a more holistic view, and I suggest that you take that up.
Thank you, Councillor Quartermain. We'll move on to question 4 from Councillor McGuinness to Councillor Quartermain. And Councillor Quartermain, would you like to respond to question 4?
Okay, yeah. And thank you again, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor McGuinness. Road safety and pedestrian safety are absolutely fundamental priorities for this administration, both in Normanby and across the wider borough. Our highways team works closely with Cleveland Police to identify accident hotspots, review concerns and review the concerns raised, and deliver targeted safety improvements where evidence supports intervention. In Normanby specifically, we have already delivered a number of significant schemes in recent years, including traffic signal upgrades at Flats Lane and the A171 junction, as well as Normanby Top. Also at Flats Lane, a speed reduction scheme with enhanced markings and vehicle activated signage, and surveys and assessments continue, which you'll probably be aware of all those safety aspects. Around schools, we use a range of measures, including timed and permanent 20-mile-per-hour limits, crossing patrols, pedestrian crossings, warning signage, and traffic calming where required. Alongside that, we continue to fund road safety education in every primary school right across the borough. Okay.
Councillor McGuinness, do you have a supplementary question?
My secondary question has much more weight to it and comes not just from myself, but my colleagues, Councillor Pugh and Salvin, as well as the residents of the New Woodcross Estate, the Flats Lane community and West Street residents, who have already preceded it with a petition to stress their concerns for theirs and their families' safety. I'm reassured that the Council consider the safety of road users and pedestrians seriously within the borough. This is by no means a personal attack, but a plea for assistance. Since elected in May 2023, we have had major concerns for our residents' safety on Flats Lane and West Street leading to the main Nornby traffic junction, especially during busy rush hours and local primary school periods. Traffic flow, as you know, is increasing, which is factual. And just this year alone, we have already encountered 8 serious incidents. Thankfully, no human fatalities have occurred. We have had a black Labrador knocked over and sadly killed, a primary school girl struck whilst trying to cross, thankfully no life-threatening injuries, 3 major collisions at the same junction, 2 vehicles driving into railings and barriers, and just recently a vehicle driving through 2 newly planted trees, a fence, which ended up in our local park. We have had numerous road surveys carried out, as you said, by the Council's highway team, and some speed restriction signs added, but with no real effect. But we are thankful for this, but the evidence they provide states that there is no problem with speeding. We and the residents disagree and have major concerns and agree that urgent action is required before we have to witness a fatality. We have spoken briefly about this already, and it's serious enough to bring forward the full Council. So my question to the Cabinet Member for Highways is, will he meet me at his earliest convenience and walk with me our new Mad Mile so we can discuss the safety of our residents and listen to my suggested recommendations?
Councillor Quatermain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yeah, absolutely. As I said to Councillor Martin, I'm happy to meet you and any ward member regarding the hotspots in their area. And it's fair to say that parameters change all the time and traffic flow, etc., etc. So it's always a fluid motion. So just to put your mind to rest regarding accidents within the borough, overall our casualty figures fell last year, and early figures in 2026 show a further reduction compared to the same period last year. There's always more to do. I will meet you at your earliest convenience as well. If you send us that email for next week, I'll meet you next week.
Thank you. Can we move on to question 5 from Councillor Crane to Councillor Quatermain? Councillor Quatermain, would you like to respond to the question?
It's exhausting, this. Thank you, Councillor Crane. Yeah, of course, and the highway teams is always willing to undertake surveys where concerns are raised, and I appreciate the concerns you've highlighted around changing traffic, and again, traffic patterns. This is a fluid thing. And following the recent housing development, so I appreciate that. At this stage, I think it would be helpful if you could clarify whether your primary concern is vehicle speeds, traffic volumes, or pedestrian safety, so that the officers can do the appropriate assessment on that. But I can pick that up with you. I'm quite happy to come out and meet with you.
Thank you. Councillor Crane, do you have a supplementary question?
Just take up, thanks for the reply, Councillor Quatermain's offer to come out on site and have a look at it. So thank you.
Thank you. We move on to question 6, a question from Councillor Salvin to Councillor Brown. Councillor Brown, would you like to respond to the question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the question, Councillor Salvin. You've took this well, so I'll just remind Councillor Salvin of who decided the original makeup of the Tier 6 board, which was the MP then, Jacob Young, who decided and picked all the people from the community. I will say the housing director was chosen as I put her forward at the time. She wasn't a councillor. You know, she wasn't active in the council. She was active in the community, being what she always has been, and a community activist. I'll also remind you of the Redcar Town Deal Board, that in its conception, and then until the prescribed appointments of the administration in 23, had no Labour representation on there whatsoever. In fact, I don't believe it even had a Redcar councillor on that Redcar Town Deal Board. So I would say to the officers that have been working with the elected members, the process has just been a continuation of what's gone before. Okay, and in terms of why I think these decisions were made, it was just to bring it more in line with the guidance in terms of who should make up these boards, and it should be purely, you know, from ideally community groups and community-focused people, and trying to take away that political angle, which we can see since it's been refreshed, the membership. You've, for instance, took it upon yourself to email non-political members at that board talking about politics. You've also got that involved with the appointment of a really, really professional and dedicated to your appointment of the chair. So my request to yourself would be, I appreciate you would want to be involved. I would have wanted to be involved with the Redcar Town Deal Board, but I just wasn't. So I would ask that you take the politics away from it and take it with a good grace, but I'll make sure you're updated from every meeting. Councillor Salvin.
Mr. Salvin, do you have a supplementary question?
Not so much a supplementary question, but it just feels a bit wrong, Alec, Councillor Brown. I've been on there from day one, and I've never really disagreed with anything that was said on the board. I've never had a bad opinion about the board. I agree it should be community-led, but for me to have, 4 of the 10 people on that board as Labour representatives when there's 5 Conservative councillors in our area, it just seems wrong on every level. And all I will say is the reason we got elected was because, for 3 decades, nothing really happened in our area. And the residents had had enough of Labour, and the residents just want to be represented on that board. But I thank you for your reply, Alec. There's 2 business owners sat in front of me that could have easily been put on the board in the same way that Councillor Jeffrey's been put on the board. Councillor McInnes has been in the area for 30 years as a business owner, and Councillor Martin, business owner for 8 years. It's not a question. I'm just making a point, Mr. Mayor. But yeah, point noted.
I have sympathy with yourself, and I appreciate where you're coming from. But I also say the previous MP set the precedent for how these boards run. The previous president MP could have invited both business owners onto that board at any time.
Thank you. Move on to question 7 from Councillor Kerr to Councillor Massey. Councillor Massey, would you like to respond to the question?
Thank you for the question. I think it's important that audit, internal or external, is something that's highlighted by the council, because sometimes it often can be left behind. Even though great work goes on, it's not necessarily something that members outside of the governance committee focus themselves on. I think while most of the council's focus over the next financial year is clearly going to be financial due to the pressures that we have, it is important that we get assurance in other areas. And receiving independent assurance that the council is performing well across its portfolio of services that it provides is just as important as it is to find out that something's gone wrong. So internal audit and external audit are for both things, for things that are going well and that we can get assurance that they continue to, and also in case things do not go well, that we have that kind of backstop there. Vera Hour's view as our partner for internal audit is that if anything is included in the internal audit, whether it is the do now, do next, do later, it is a priority, and it's something that they want to assess across the course of the year in order that they can submit and publish their assurance at the end of the year. On the 2 particular areas that have been highlighted in the question, so volunteering is the first one, and as has already been said by Councillor Kerr, to give her credit, volunteers do a vital role for this authority and for this borough. But this area has not been something that's been audited since Veritao became our internal audit provider. Indeed, it's not something that we've particularly looked at since the volunteer strategy came in a couple of years ago for the council. So it was deemed appropriate that this should be part of this year's audit, and as has been suggested, there is staffing availability to make sure this can happen sooner rather than later. Volunteering is potentially a control risk area for the authority. Volunteers do great work, but it's important that volunteers have clear instructions, clear training, clear responsibilities. So this is why it's been selected. Also, corporate complaints was the other area that was highlighted. It's important here to ensure we're meeting our key commitment to communities, and one of the key drivers and the key indicators as an authority to ensure that we're performing well is the number of complaints we're getting and how those complaints are upheld, dismissed, etc. moving forward. The final thing I'll say about internal audit in general is that it is a statutory function. We have to have an internal audit service. It's part of the accounts and audit regulations of 2015. We entered into a shared service with Veritao a number of years ago, and this is a real cost saver for the council. Veritao is a service that is shared across Middlesbrough, also I think in North Yorkshire, York, etc. So there are savings by having an internal audit function that is spread across a number of councils, rather than having it in-house where the bigger cost, it would be our own team solely. It also plays this vital preventative role that I've talked about throughout. And the plan that we've got in front of us, our governance committee had in front of us, has 555 days of assurance within it. So there are 555 days where Veritao assess, reflect, and provide assurance or provide suggestions for improvement around key council priorities. The programme's risk-based, it's flexible, it's regularly reviewed, but in my opinion, it is a vital shared service that provides value for money for the taxpayer. Thanks for the question.
Thank you, Councillor Quartermain. Councillor Kerr, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Councillor Massey. It certainly is a vital service. I do not accept that volunteers or corporate complaints should be anywhere near the do now category. When you look at all of the other service areas that could have been selected for do now, including contract management, transformation programme, sickness absence, which costs us £2 million plus per year, and it cost us the same last year, and it cost us the same the year before that. Flood planning, another service area where we could have focused, took up a large amount of the debate in the regulatory meeting yesterday. Commissioning in children's services, £12 million overspend. Commissioning in adult services, 1.7. Budget pressure, waste services, parks, open spaces, and lots more. So volunteers, corporate complaints, no one has been able to explain why those. I know you've made a good effort today, and I don't accept that those two service areas should be anywhere near do now when you look at everything else that the council is facing. In corporate scrutiny committee, we have a really good oversight of these areas, and the volunteer strategy is working particularly well. It's going swimmingly. We have regular updates. It's working really well. So I do not understand why these two service areas are categorised as do now, apart from the answer I was given at the meeting that the staff have time to devote to these areas. Now, there wasn't a cabinet member at the governance committee, otherwise we could have had this discussion there. I mean, that's not a criticism. I know we are all busy. That's why I've brought it here, because I want an opinion from cabinet why these two service areas have appeared in the do now classification. Thank you.
Councillor Massey.
I agree. It's an entirely fair and just question, and I hope my response kind of reflects that. I think it's a very appropriate question to ask, and you're well within your rights to ask it. I do think that there's an important thing for members to take around the do now, do next, do later categories. They're not about perceived importance necessarily. They're about risk assurance gaps and governance. And I think particularly for volunteers, which we all recognise as a vital area, we haven't audited it for some time. So the reason that it's been prioritised in this particular round of internal audit is not because we're saying that the volunteering strategy is the most important thing that the council has, but that we haven't looked at volunteering for some time, and that we know, as I mentioned, that it's a potential control risk because we have volunteers out there doing more and more things for the council, which we're very grateful and respectful of, but we need to ensure that this is about governance, not just about finance. That does not preclude finance, sickness, contract management, all of the parts of the council's financial purview being part of the internal audit, which has 555 days in this year. But I do think that getting volunteers right, getting corporate complaints right, as we've said, that does not mean we're not looking at the financial elements, but I think they're key health determinants for a council. If we are doing right by our volunteers, we're doing right by our communities. If we're doing right in terms of complaints, we're ensuring that the council service out there in the community is appropriate, well managed, and delivering for our residents. I think it's about getting the basics of governance right alongside getting the basics of finance right. We spend a lot of time as members talking about the finances. We know the challenges that we have moving forward, but we also need to ensure that we have good governance health across the council as well. And I hope that across the 555 days, we ensure that all of those things, the entire suite of the council's responsibilities, are highly commended, assured by our internal audit, external audit, but of course members, internal audit, external audit, continue to look at these things throughout the year. So I appreciate Councillor Kerr's focus. I know she'll continue on this path. It's a very good question. It's very fair to be asked. But I do think that across those 555 days, we can do everything, and our internal audit partners, hopefully Veritas, are able to do that, and I'm quite confident they will over the course of the year. But thank you for the question.
Councillor Massey. Can we move on to question 8 from Councillor Earl to Councillor Morgan? Would Councillor Morgan respond to the question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Earl, for your question. I'm aware as Chair of Governance that the social media is often the cause of complaints that we receive, and these are often quite low-level complaints which use up unnecessary time and resources, and they could easily be avoided. Our Code of Conduct references the use of social media, particularly stating the code applies to all forms of communication and interaction, including in electronic and social media communication, posts, statements and comments. And just some figures from the last year. Since last May, in the last 12 months, there have been a total of 26 Code of Conduct complaints. 15 of those were in relation to comments that were made on social media. So I do think it would be helpful to also have some guidelines which link to the Code of Conduct. And I have had a quick look at a couple of policy documents that other authorities have in place. And yes, I'm happy to ask for a report to come to Governance Committee setting out some appropriate options. That helps.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Earl, do you have a supplementary question?
No questions, thank you very much.
In which case we move on to question 9. A question from Councillor Head to Councillor Bendelow. Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Elected members are to contact mwar.monitoring@redcar-cleveland.gov.uk, and the team who monitor this will handle any request for MWAR. They can obtain an up-to-date form from MWAR donations by contacting this email address. Community groups and other organisations can also be signposted to this email for group applications forms that will be reviewed and shared with elected members for approval. Elected members can also contact the team via this email address to find out their remaining MWAR balance or the status progress against an application. Once they have approved or submitted a request, once the form is completed and returned, the team will review the form, check that the spend is eligible and that the members have declared any conflict of interest. If the member is looking to purchase goods or services, they are to arrange this and provide details on the form and relevant payment details to the team. The team deal with administrating the payment process for the donation or award and ensuring the relevant documentation is complete and recorded correctly.
Councillor Head, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Bendelow, the present scheme we operate for improving our wards with this ward allowance doesn't work. I'm sure a lot of our members here cannot work as well. We used to go to our CDO, who then went along, looked at what we wanted to improve, went and got 3 quotes. We have no ability to go and get 3 quotes, and really, it doesn't work. So I'd like to meet with you to talk through it further.
Councillor Bendelow.
Yeah, I've never had to get free quote when I've used it. I've always just signposted people to it and done it. But I haven't got a problem meeting you to see if we can make it any leaner and any more easier. No problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mendelow. We move on to question 10 from Councillor King to Councillor Richardson. Councillor Richardson.
Were you going to read it, Mary? Yeah, it's okay.
We're taking this read?
Yes, but Councillor King's not here. So, but I'll answer even though she's not here because I think it's useful to give everybody an update, if that's okay. So, Elior, the current operator, took the decision to exercise the break clause and will leave the walled garden on the 31st of August, at which point it transfers back into council responsibility. A procurement process has been initiated and we've had at least 15 expressions of interest from national and local companies, and it hasn't even gone out yet. They have just come in off the press around Stuart Arnold quoting my Facebook mostly, but I'm absolutely confident that we'll have somebody in place. The procurement exercise will end at the end of July. It will start at the beginning of June and is currently being prepared. So we have at least 15 registers of interest within the site, and they're working to produce that formal tender bid. She's not here to ask a supplementary. Did she give you one, Councillor Robbins?
Sorry?
Did Councillor King give you a supplementary question?
I have got a supplementary, if you don't mind.
Okay, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I have been watching the correspondence that's gone backwards and forwards, as for most councillors, and I think it's not so much the operation of the garden part of it, it's the catering element of it, which seems to have gone through various changes and had different managers in there. So the biggest complaint I've had is from residents and people who use it, or visitors who use it, and sometimes they'll say the food is fabulous and other times it leaves a lot to be desired. I think when we're looking at all these expressions of interest, it's that dual aspect of we have to do all the gardening side of it, but also it's very important that we get that catering side right, because it's a fabulous facility and I would just like to see it used to the best capacity, and I'm sure Councillor King would feel the same. Thank you,
Councillor Jason.
Yeah, just to comment that absolutely, I don't think that LER were consistent in their approach and received complaints from both the cafeteria and the wedding side along the way. So yes, absolutely, that's an important focus when considering people who put in a formal bid. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Richardson. We move on to question 11 from Councillor Leroy to Councillor Quatermain. Councillor Quatermain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your question, Councillor. Firstly, we're talking about the railway here and behaviours on there. And firstly, no member of rail staff should be subjected to abuse, threats, or assault simply for doing their job. And the behaviour described in your question is completely unacceptable. Responsibility, as you're probably aware, for policing the rail network sits with the British Transport Police, who work alongside Cleveland Police where necessary. Locally, our community safety team works along with partners to address antisocial behaviour, whether that's in Mask or across the borough, regardless of where offenders are travelling in from. I'll just say as well on this, the TVCA is establishing a new transport safety and security partnership, bringing together police, transport operators and local authorities across the region. The aim is to improve safety for passengers and staff across the public transport network and strengthen joint working around these type of issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Leroy, do you have a supplementary question? No. Okay, thank you. In which case we'll move on to question 12 from Councillor Leroy to Councillor Bendelow. Councillor Bendelow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Developers have changed their approach to managing areas of open space, highways, parks, etc. from the traditional method of simply handing this over to the council for adoption when the development is complete. The more recent trend is for developers across the country to retain ownership and then delegate the maintenance responsibility to a management company, which is ultimately paid by the future residents. Unfortunately, the council, even if it wanted to, cannot insist that this infrastructure is transferred to our ownership and responsibility, as legally developers have the discretion to choose. Any new house buyers are made aware of any fees as part of the purchase process by the house builder, and is therefore at the customer's risk and should be factored into their decision making. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Leroy, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you. I do. That's a really disappointing answer from a Labour Party politician about rent charges. I didn't expect that. It was almost supporting the existence of rent charges. This is an extra up to £4,000 that's a bill that's added on a house sale, and up to £1,000 every year that's added on top of council tax. If you live in on an old estate like I do, you don't have to pay these supplementary bills. And so I think it's the responsibility of councils to coordinate, especially given the fact that the Tees Mayor, I wouldn't have given him these powers, I wouldn't have given him any powers, but the government has decided to give him more planning powers. I wonder how that'll affect the transport budget going forward. That'll be interesting to see, won't it? Anyway, looking at that and looking at the combined authority and the individual councils, one would have thought that there would have been some sort of action or idea about how we can reduce these rent charges, because they're becoming more and more frequent, and they're causing more and more problem for residents. For example, with the adoption of roads, there was an instance in Councillor Crane's ward, neighbour in my ward recently, where there was dog fouling, and the dog fouling responsibility falls between the cracks. It's not the council's responsibility. The management company doesn't want to do it. So I would have expected a more solid position.
Councillor Leroy, that's not a supplementary question.
Yeah, but it's an important statement to make. And I enjoyed making it. I will finish with the question. Would you be able to please combine your efforts with the other authorities and the combined authority to come up with some sort of policy with regards to rent charges, as they will cause a problem in the future for many residents around the combined authority in Borough?
Councillor Bendler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, we've been given the clarification from the council, but I haven't got a problem looking into it if anything else can be done, and if it can, I'll let the councillor know. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Can we move on to question 13? Question from Councillor Leroy to Councillor Brown. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hey, Tristan, are you recording this for Facebook? Sorry, I can't do a Yorkshire accent. Just to let you know, the contractor is currently borrowing all the costs of the current works you asked about. Did you ask the operational officer the operational part of this question prior to this meeting? Yeah, I know, I know, but I'm not an operational project lead, am I? I'm just asking, did you ask the officer? Yeah, I'm going to answer you, but I'm just wondering, did you take the time to ask the officer? Yeah, okay.
So this is not a debate, please.
No, that's fine. I'm just wondering if you took the time not to grandstand on social media and actually do what a councillor should do and speak to the project lead. During the construction phase in particular, excavations will potentially lead to the accumulation of water on the site. The application to abstract water was submitted by Viridor to the Environment Agency in March 26. Subject to its approval, it will allow the site to be dewatered to allow the construction of below-ground structures for the TVERF. And like I said, Viridor carrying all the costs for that, Tristan.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Councillor Leroy, do you have a supplementary question?
Are the council aware that Viridor's choice of engineering procurement construction company, EPC, important part of the process to build the Tees Valley Energy Recovery Facility, a company called Canadavia Innova, is under investigation. Canadavia Corporation appointed a special investigation committee who identified 35 acts of inappropriate conduct, including violations of law and regulations related to the quality and labelling of products and services and breaches of intentional breaches of agreements between the period of July 17th, 2024 to April 27th, 2025. Canadavia stated, "We would like to express our sincere apologies once again to all stakeholders for the significant loss of trust and causing considerable inconvenience and concern due to the series of inappropriate conduct by our group. Were Viridor under any obligation as part of the procurement process to disclose the EPC contractor was investigated or had admitted to improper actions, and if so, whether or not they did so?" This doesn't look like a good start to the building of the Tees Valley Energy Recovery City, does it? Can they be trusted with such a huge project? And can they be trusted over the course of the many years with taxpayers' money?
Can we keep the questions, please, rather than speech?
I'm recording it right now because I've just read out there that you're appointing an EPC conductor which has got intentional breaches and will investigate for the course of a year, and you're spending $2.4 billion on it.
There was no question there for me, was there? Just you could have asked the operational lead all of these questions, but I appreciate that doesn't let you grandstand on Facebook.
Are the council aware of Viridor's choice of company? And
Councillor Leroyd. Councillor Leroyd, if you can keep your the questions. Yes, but I'll take your word for that. It did seem longer. Councillor Brown, are you able to answer his questions? If not, could we...
I'll ask the operational lead of the project to write Tristan.
Back to him. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor, for your question. It's a very short question. I'll read the question out. What is the Council doing to compel utility companies to complete roadworks more quickly and ensure council services to continue? Okay. And I'm with you with this one. The Council does have powers under the Traffic Management Act to manage and regulate utility company works through our permit scheme. Utility companies must apply for permission before carrying out works, and through that process we can set conditions, coordinate works to reduce disruption, and in some cases refuse or amend applications where the impact would be unacceptable. Where works overrun or permit conditions are breached, financial penalties can be issued, and we do monitor the performance of utility companies and challenge poor practice where necessary. I've caught a few of these in myself, actually. At the same time, officers work to ensure access is maintained for residents, emergency services, and key council services such as waste collection while works are ongoing.
Councillor Morgan, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Cortwin, for your answer. To put some context to this, barely a week goes by without some form of disruption to traffic and residents. I'm talking mainly about Ormsby Bank that goes down the bottom. You may not know is Orchard Way and Sunnyfield. And recently, the Northern Gas Networks roadworks there to renew the gas pipe work took twice as long, and residents were suffering long delays there for 4 months. 3 and 4 way temporary traffic lights were the norm, and it created huge problems for refuse collections in particular. I do acknowledge that the safety of our workforce is crucial, is paramount, and residents do realise that essential works need to be carried out and that disruption is inevitable to achieve this. But they've naturally been extremely frustrated here, particularly when they see long periods of inaction at weekends, for example. And also it seems to be that there is very little cooperation and working together with other authorities and companies. So as an example here, while this is going on, the flyover at Martin, for the flyover for the 174 was closed and creating 2 massive delays on really major roads going in and out of Middlesbrough. I know what you're saying about the actions that the council can take. I'd be interested to know actually what actions were taken in this particular instance, and if you can look at this in more detail, what does the council actually use, and can you report back to us on that, please?
Councillor Quartermain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, absolutely. Of course I will. I'm not sure. I didn't get any complaints at the time, so they never came across my desk. Well, I'm not saying that, which is good because the process works. But if ever you feel like you're banging your head against the wall, like I've always said, you know, copy me in or ask me to push on those things. And I agree. You know, that shouldn't happen. And you know, particularly on a weekend when there's nobody there working. And the paths are up and so, you know, I've always asked for barriers to be moved back in, so you know, when there's no work going on. I'll find out, but obviously this is in hindsight now, so we'll find out what happened there, and hopefully we can learn going on. And I mean, I did put some words together, but I think that'll do it. Before I sit down, that was the last question, Mr. Mayor, as well. Can I just associate myself with the comments of members earlier about your tenure as mayor? It's very much appreciated. As with many mayors that have gone before you, you've been a real ambassador for the area, and it's very much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Pendelow. That is the last question of the day. By all means. Sorry.
I answered the councillor's questions on both counts. He then asked a supplementary question of that, the operational.
Which is. No, Councillor Brown, I do understand both parties in this, and I do appreciate Councillor Brown as I asked, could you answer it? Appreciate that you might not be able to answer it, and then you did answer it. You get the operator to get the answer from the operator to answer his question. Hopefully that we won't have a repeat of that next year. So I was hoping for a nice easy end to that, and I was just going to say to everybody, thank you for accepting that the questions were read, and at least we weren't here until after 5 o'clock if we hadn't done that. And I appreciate people as time and all the officers in terms of answering the questions that came up. And can I say thank you to everybody for my year as mayor. I won't say it's been smooth necessarily. It's in council chamber. We have our things from time to time, but in general, can I thank everybody for their kindness towards me, and also for taking on board my requests.